Andrew S. here, and the next band up is a band that recently reached out to me, also suggested to me by my good friend Vendel at Vendel's Metal and Stuff. His link will be down in the description below for you guys. So let's check out Asko Argillander and the Blue Flame. Now this is sort of new and not new. New as in I've never talked about a band, you know, that is a throwback rock and roll style like this, but it's not new in a sense of I'm very familiar with this genre of music. You know, a lot of the oldies, stuff like that they sound like Elvis. They've actually done a cover of an Elvis track, but I'm very familiar with the genre, you know, of rock and roll, and those throwback to the oldies. Like I said, Elvis, Beach Boys, Frankie Valli, and the Four Seasons, the Hollies, I'm very familiar with this. I really actually grew up with this, so I've heard plenty of the bands and plenty of their songs. So I do have a sense of, you know, what I'm listening to and how to dig into it just a little bit. So let's get into the first of the two tracks I'm talking about. The first one's Cold Hand. And this immediately, the guitar chords give off this cold mood, and I would say that tone evolves more and more throughout this track, with Asko's vocals then elevated slightly by the backing vocals. Really adds this nice tone and keeps it sort of cold, like I said, but it still has a bit of an energy to it, a bit of a life there. And I like that the bass fills in the backdrop. It really has its own entity and really adds to this mood as well, and gives a bit of a groovy tone. Maybe not groovy tone is the right word, but it has this bit of a groove to the background, gives a nice rhythm, goes hand in hand with the drums, which is, you know, really was what the bass does a lot of the time. But I also found the whistle to act as its own guitar melody, adding a fourth melody to this song, you know, and really adding a lot of depth and dynamic to this track. And I also felt like there's actually quite a bit going on that you might not listen to or hear on the surface, but I really feel like all these elements sort of put together, the vocals, the guitars, the bass and the drums hanging out here, the whistle adds a bit of a flair. So I really feel like all these elements sort of piece together and create this track that actually has, you know, quite a bit going on. You know, just like I said, you don't really hear it on the surface, but there's a lot going on, and like I said, the mood and the atmosphere is in there too. Adds a nice little touch to Cold Hand. Then we move on to Goodbye Stockholm. This definitely has a higher energy rock and roll vibe with a bit of a sad tone behind the guitars and bass, I felt. And I think that actually goes hand in hand with the theme to this track. And I felt the tone change and liven up a little bit as the songs sort of moves along, and as if to portray like things are looking up, so the song sort of builds as the lyrics sort of build, and I feel like that sort of all goes hand in hand. I really felt the piano adds a nice element as well, and goes hand in hand with Asko and the backing vocals, bringing forth that positivity as the song sort of does this sort of slow, you know, seamless transition. It's very, very subtle, I felt. At least that's how I felt it pick up. And I also felt the solo certainly helps the emotional transition into that last chorus as well, and adds a bit of a oomph to the song, adds a little bit of energy. The solo's got a little bit of a flair and sort of comes out, and then it comes into the chorus. So, you know, it gives the song a little bit of boost heading into that last chorus. I like when a solo can do that. It really does add an element. I don't think people pick up on it. They just think it's all show and flash, but I think sometimes a solo can really speak and really add dimension to the song as you're heading into the last chorus or the last section of the song itself. So awesome job there. I really think one thing I wanted to mention is Asko's vocals actually do remind me of some gothic metal singers. So I felt like, you know, his vocals fit as in like sort of an Elvis, Johnny Cash style to the rock and roll genre, but he also has his own entity and feels like he could actually maybe sing in a gothic metal band as well. So I really think that stands out and creates a separate entity from the tone of the song. So I really feel like that's a unique thing for Asko Argillander and the Blue Flame that they got going from, is the vocal tone from Asko and the music. There's a lot going on here that you might not hear on the surface, but I really thought it was cool. I'm glad they reached out to me, as well as Vendel. I thought it was cool to sort of test my chops and see if I could pick up, you know, different things within the genre of rock and roll and what they're doing. So check out Asko Argillander and the Blue Flame for all the links in the description below for you guys to check out. And Yeah, so feel free to message me about any bands that might be similar to Asko Argillander and the Blue Flame, or whatever genres. I'm willing to test myself and see what I can pick up. Maybe it'll help me in my own creative writing. You never know. So until next time, folks, how about some maybe lighter listening?